And that's happening all across, actually, all across, actually. I mean, I can tell you, industry is changing at a breakneck speed, actually, and these guys are responsible for that, actually, that you will not even realize, and they'll knocking on your door and say, I've got a service to offer, actually. By the way, what is it you're doing, actually? There's no company I think you guys would have heard about called Blockbuster, actually. I mean, I saw the ad of, good to see FiberNet, which used to, one of the cable provider, and then eventually they became the internet provider, actually. I mean, there was a cable provider, there was a, DVD provider called Blockbuster, actually. And then Netflix came in. And I remember, I mean, there is a big story that goes around is that Netflix went to Blockbuster and said that, would you like to acquire us for $50 million? And they said no. In 2009, Blockbuster said that I don't see any competition around it, actually. In 2011, they filed for Chapter 11. Actually. That's what you're staring at, and that's the speed it's coming at. Actually. There are 4 things you need to keep in mind, actually, that's driving it, actually. And I think if you want to take anything home, take these things home, actually. Is that it's important to have a dual transformation, actually. Whatever you're doing to protect your 80-90% of the revenue, that 10% of the revenue, which is your digital revenue, which should eventually become 80-90% of the revenue, ensure that someone is focused on that and someone is driving that. Because if you're too focused on just protecting your existing revenue, you may not have that channel, actually, because the channel of revenue is going to be digital, actually. Focus on something called platform. If you look at everything today that services you is a platform. Paytm is a platform. Amazon is a platform. In fact, majority of revenue which comes from Apple actually is a platform which allows you that iTunes, whatever you want to see, actually. Netflix is a platform, actually. Okay? Do not go look back and plan your strategy, actually. Keep an eye on periphery, actually. All these companies which are knocking on your doors, these startups, keep an eye on them. Find a way to partner, find a way to procure something from them, find a way to invest in them so that you can bring home those innovation and create a competitive advantage and a white space analysis for you. Actually. And finally, it's important is that keep an eye on those decacorn, because if you see those decacorn either side, China and US, they have a potential. I mean, if you look at it, some of the things like Tencent, actually, they didn't even exist 5-6 years back, actually. I mean, some of them have raised money at $100 billion valuation, actually. Unheard, actually. Has never happened in the history of valuation. Actually. Keep that very, very important. Actually. This bar describes from 2014 to 2018 what happened. Actually, on an average, 60 to 70 new unicorn got added every year. Actually, and this is not going to stop. This is going to continue, and this is going to knock on your door, your job. And I'll take you through actually how jobs are getting decimated. Actually, and there are new jobs coming in. It's important to get ready for those jobs. Actually. First thing first, actually, any one of you who calls himself or herself as a chief digital officer or a chief strategy officer, beware, actually, this is shifting in a way that I think in 2000 there used to be an e-commerce officer, and then it continued to change, actually. We are predicting in next 2 years, there's no one called chief digital officer. There's going to be a chief strategy officer who has to understand how to sell or how to have a digital strategy, actually. Because there can be only one strategy, and that's going to be a digital strategy. So what are the key takeaways in terms of where it is striking, actually? One thing important for you to understand is that anything that's a repetitive job, yeah, it's going to get automated, actually. And let me take you through the journey, actually. The first thing that is getting automated through artificial intelligence is your repetitive job, actually. So have a look at this graph, actually. And if you look at towards the right-hand side of that graph, interestingly, it'll point out a very simple thing, actually. Anything like data entry, data collection, data monitoring, answering the calls and all that, actually. The biggest people, if anyone related to a call center, actually, the biggest people who are going to get disrupted in call center are the voice-based call centers, actually. Because all of it is going to get disrupted through a very simple term called RPA, robotic process automation, and I'll talk a little more about it. And there is something called conversational AI, actually. How many of you have heard about conversational AI? 3-4 people. Take a time to go through it. How many of you have heard about robotic process automation? Quite a lot of people. They both are one thing, actually. They're getting combined, actually. And the simple thing is that if you remember IVR, where you'll pick up the phone and then it'll say press this button and all that, essentially someone smarter actually answering your question either through voice or through chat, actually. This is what it talks about, the propensity of jobs which are repetitive, which is going to get. I mean, very simple thing, actually. How many of you have used JCB to build your house, actually? There used to be 15 laborers who will dig, trench, and build a house. Now a JCB can do that job in 2 hours, actually. Same thing is AI going to do to some of the repetitive jobs, actually. So there's a bank called UBS, actually. In 2006, they put together their entire, trading floor, actually. And you can see that it was to the size of 23 basketball court, actually. And in 2016, it came down to a small room, actually. That's how the entire trading got automated, actually. Yeah? By now, you must be edgy. Sitting must be edge of your seat. I mean, relax. There is an answer to it. It's important for you to know. Sip a glass of water. And let me just take you through what's coming your way and how you're going to handle these things. So I was talking about RPA. Some of it you can see, some of it you can't see, actually, but these slides will be available. Essentially, what robotic process automation does, it's a software robot. Anything on your computer which you do repetitive, like collection of data, answering of few things, actually, assimilating something data, RPA automates it, actually. If you're having a conversation and trying to answer some of the banks, trying to answer some of the, the customer queries from a B2C environment, RPA can actually automate. And if you have a 500-seater BPO, it can bring it down to 150, actually, with RPA as well as conversational AI, actually. The problem is that those 250 people or 350 people may or may not have any future, actually. If you're one of them, please brace yourself, prepare, because you need to reskill yourself. Because these jobs are going to get automated, it's going to impact you. And if you can look at the entire thing, it basically is talking about the customer journey, actually. And the customer journey, the reason it has become so important is that, surprisingly, the B2C behavior is at least 3 or 4 years ahead of B2B companies, what they're offering, actually. But the problem of some of the banks or some of the companies which thought we are not B2C actually have become B2C, actually, and that's what people are expecting from you. And that behavior is coming from whether you're booking a cab over Uber or Ola, whether you're, Paytm, you're just, or through Google Pay, you're, shifting the money to each other, actually. That's what they're expecting, actually. That they're expecting from, you'll be very surprised, actually. Most of the people I meet actually do not have any kind of a, the Tata Sky kind of a connection or a cable connection. They're just switched. Bangalore, most of the people, those who use high-speed broadband, they just watch everything just in time because that's the time available, or while traveling, actually. Nobody thought it's going to happen, actually. Music industry has gone through that, actually. Nobody buys record level, actually. You just buy the song, or you just listen to the song that's necessary, actually, and pay a subscription around it, actually. Correct? And it's pervasive. It's pervasive in most of the industries, actually. Look at the retail banking solutions, actually. If you thought retail banking, there's a bank called Atom Bank. It's getting popular and popular, actually. It's a digital-only bank. There's no branches. You just, apply. You get a credit card. And everything you do through that credit card or through the bank, at any point of time, it can tell you that your expense statement looks like, actually. This is where you're spending. Here are the recommendations. You have surplus money. This is what you can do. Gone are the days of wealth advisor, actually. There is a robo-advisor who will continue to tell you that, look, you have a spare cash of this many thousands of rupees, actually. Would you like to invest it? Because this is what is happening, actually. Correct? If any one of you into wealth advisory, keep in mind that the entire job is going to get replaced, actually, unless you think differently. Actually. Correct? And that's, again, coming your way, actually. Nobody thought it's going to happen, actually. Because digital-only banks tracks all your footprint. How many times you have taken a taxi, how many times you've gone there, how much of toll you've paid, how much of EMI statement you've done that, calculates it without having anything, recommends you this thing is to done. And what I'll tell you honestly, people are going to believe more of it than I'm telling you, and so this guy may have a vested interest, he wants me to buy a policy, actually. There it just says that, look, this is the statement, these are the facts, I think you should be doing this, actually. Because 80% of the people who have this kind of a profile does that. So there is a correlation happening, actually. Okay, every retail banker we are talking to is worried about one thing. I need to change the customer experience, actually. And my customer experience are asking same thing what they experience on Netflix, or Amazon, or Uber. And they're not ready for it, actually. Just a quick one, again, in terms of insurance, we work with some of the large insurance, like Sun Life and, how much time? Yeah, I'll finish it, actually. And again, these insurance companies are asking one simple thing, is that, how do I create just-in-time insurance? Majority of these insurance are focused on how do I create insurance based on the behavior of people. So you saw Raj talking about that entire, watch and all that. If my behavior is, I'm very active, I run and all that, why should I pay same premium someone whose behavior is not like that? Can you create a more customized insurance for me, actually, because that's what I need, actually, and should I pay less premium, actually? Correct? So your behavior becomes important, what you do activities becomes important, and the entire product can get customized. And you don't need tons of people to do that. Just a couple of statistics and you'll be able to create and download that insurance based on your behavior. And you stick to it, actually. And that's the advantage, actually. I'm not going to spend on omni-channel experience, actually, but this is one thing bank is really worried about, actually. There is all banks who have spoken to this have one number priority, actually. I want to improve the experience of my customer. What does omni-channel means? Whether somebody is coming from Facebook, whether we are talking to WeChat, whether the bank is asking me a question over a transaction, whether my consumer is asking me the same thing through LinkedIn, I should be able to experience and give them a same experience what they get when they come to the office, actually. And again, there is a huge debate going on, and this is the area which is getting automated and has a propensity to disrupt all the BPO, BPM industry because they survive and thrive only on this. I'm not going to talk about trade operation because you saw what happens to a trade operation, right? A 23 football stadium becomes a one small room, actually, and this is all getting automated, actually. Let me just talk you through a Ken show, actually, and then we can have a bit of chit chat, actually. A company recently got acquired by SMP. What it does, a simple algorithm got created. And what it says is that if any kind of events are happening, if you type how it's going to impact a commodity price or a share price, it'll do the analysis of last 18 years and give you an answer. You should be betting on that. Till yesterday, there used to be something called quant analyst in bank who used to get a salary of $500 million to do that. These guys just created an algorithm for that, actually. They were in existence for the last 3-4 years, got acquired for $500 million, actually. This is what a repetitive job can become, actually. Just to give you an example what's happening here. There are plenty. JP Morgan is working on that, Digital Reasoning is working on that. So, just to calm down your anxiety, actually, it's important to understand a couple of things, actually. Whatever you do, okay, whether you are working somewhere, whether you are running a company, whether you are a startup, actually. As I said that 1.78 million tech startups are born every year. Just keep an eye on periphery, what's happening, actually, correct? What are the new things coming in which you can partner, procure, and invest in, actually. Focus on changing customer behavior. That's the biggest message everyone is talking about, is that the customer behavior has changed. If you're serving them in an archaic way, God bless you. Nothing can happen to you, actually. Keep an eye on that, actually. Make sure your strategy is not trapped by yesterday's year's assumption. Embrace dual transformation. Whatever you need to protect, actually, but build focus on something digital. Your 80-90% of revenue in next 2 to 3 years has to come from digital. Otherwise, there's no future for you, actually. And if you don't do anything, I remember I was talking to Shyam, actually. He advises a lot of, the emerging companies. He also advises a lot of SMEs, actually. And they say they take time to change, actually. You don't have time. You can sip a glass of water and go home and relax, actually. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's me.
Thank you. Big round of applause for Rajeev. It was amazing. It was amazing to see the kind of disruption and the speed at which the disruption is happening. The speed at which the disruption is happening. It's mind-boggling. So Rajeev, I was really sitting at the edge of my seat because, I run an executive search and recruitment company in Dubai. And with all these jobs getting lost, are there people going to be looking for jobs? Definitely there are going to be a lot of people looking for jobs, but are there jobs still out there? That's a big question. I think we should have a chit chat separately on that. But any quick questions for Rajeev? We can just take one question in the interest of time. Anybody has a question for Rajeev? Any show of hands? Yeah.
So I really love it. It means you got the message right.
Yeah,
you have time to
the
think
message
about
is right, yes. And disruption is everywhere, whether it's, Swiggy disrupting the restaurants or, it's Paytm disrupting the bank-based transactions. Thank you very much, Rajeev. I'm going to call quickly Dr. Dinesh to come up on stage to give a memento to Dr. Dinesh. Yeah. Sorry, Dr. Dinesh. Dr. Dinesh from Eco-Organics. Can I have the memento, please? Rajeev, thanks for sharing, taking time off.
Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Rajeev.